What's going on? It's super late right now. I was like in bed, like ready to go to sleep, and I just was thinking, I was like, I have to make this video, even if it ends up being completely wrong in a few years. John Schneider, the manager for the Seattle Seahawks, has rightfully gotten a lot of credit for the last few years and how he has been just ahead of consensus, drafting amazing players. When there have been reaches, the players have been just incredible. Usually, not always, right? But he's been kind of on a heater the last few years. And I think this year people are a bit lower on the draft, right? Because our first round pick, right, Jadarian Price, is a bit of a reach, right? Not consensus first round running back. Maybe like 20 spots of a reach, right? And the other picks are like good players, but not like absolute steals or anything like that. And so yeah, the draft is a bit looked down on. Here's why I think this was genuinely a great draft for the Seahawks. So I guess I'll say this. The Seahawks faced three main issues going into the draft as far as getting a traditionally good draft grade would have it. Number one, they only had 4 picks going in, right? Most teams had 6 at least. Seahawks had 4. So even if you acquired good talent, you're not adding a lot of gross talent, total talent to the room, right? Number 2, they won the Super Bowl, so they're picking at the end of every round. So it's just harder to get good players when you're picking after everyone else, right? And number 3, the Seahawks didn't have a lot of holes to fill. The rosters, despite losing like 4 players in free agency, the only like major hole was at running back, and then they would obviously like some depth pieces in the secondary, and maybe shore up the offensive line, but that's kind of it, right? It's not one of those drafts where like, oh shoot, this good tight end fell, let's take him. Oh shoot, this receiver fell, let's take him. Oh shoot, this defensive tackle fell in the draft, let's take him. Like, the Seahawks are such a complete team that it was just very hard to justify even a bunch of draft steals, right? They have very specific weaknesses on this team that need to be addressed. Or that could be addressed, I could say. And what did John Schneider do? He addressed everything. The running back was the absolute biggest hole that needed to be filled. Oh, I should say, there actually was one final issue that the Seahawks faced going into the draft, and that was they couldn't trade down, right? Normally, if you have 4 picks, you can solve that issue by just trading down and getting more picks. You get worse picks, but you get more picks. The Seahawks couldn't do that. John Schneider all but explicitly stated that they attempted to, but teams weren't willing to trade with them or had already traded with other teams before them. For example, multiple teams traded into the back half of the first round at the very end. And the Seahawks, after being promised some trades, just had them all fall through, right? Not like anything against those teams, but like, as Mike McDonald said, right? You got to take out the king. Got to take out the leader in Catan, right? Got to work together. And so, right, given all of this difficulty, given all of these obstacles, you would expect the Seahawks to have like a terrible draft, right? But John Schneider somehow does it again. He gets the second best running back in the draft, right? Maybe a bit of a reach. I'll admit I wasn't like jumping up and down at the pick, but still extremely reasonable given the massive hole and the team need it would fulfill, right? The roster is complete otherwise. This is the what we need to invest our draft capital into. And then the next two picks were spent filling out the secondary with the depth pieces that we lost in free agency. The corner was sort of a not widely praised pick, but it did fill that very physical corner that Reek Woolen was. And then Bud Clark, just like an absolute ball hawk, right, in the safety position, and could be moved to corner as well. So, just two like very much two pieces that we didn't really have depth in. We now have like draft pieces, and we'll see how they work out. And they look very promising. And then the offensive line, they actually traded a pick from next year, right? Because next year is a pretty stacked draft class, and they have a lot of comp picks from losing free agents. And so they actually traded a fourth from next year to move up in the fifth round, which is quite a steep price, to go get Bo Stevens, the offensive guard. And yeah, this was generally seen as like a very good move. He was drafted around consensus. And yeah, Bo Stevens looks like a really, really good player that is maybe even good enough to start right away. And then finally, with the rest of their picks, they were mostly filling out second, like other corners as well as special teamers. And this is again awesome because our special teams was like one of the best in the entire league last year, and this is just a way to further improve that. So I say all this to say, like, it seemed like an impossible task heading into the draft to address these very, very specific needs with so few and so late picks. But somehow John Schneider does it. Like, I'm not saying it was like the best Seahawks draft of all time. I'm not saying it was the best draft of all time. But like, we are squeezing water out of stone here, man. Like, I just don't know how he does it. I don't know how he did it. But this was a good draft, and I'm very, very happy at the end of the day. And I'm very excited for next season. You know, maybe it's a huge bust. Maybe the entire class is going to go down as one of the worst. But I feel like the future is bright as of today. And I guess we'll see if that's ends up being true. All right, that's all I got for you. Peace.